Couple that spots a piece of metal in yard soon realizes it's worth thousands. If you're lucky enough to have a backyard, you know just how valuable that little patch of grass can be. One New York City couple, however, ended up with much more than they bargained for in their space. What they thought was a simple piece of metal turned out to be a door to a unique mystery and riches. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Well, New York City isn't exactly known for having houses with massive yards. Staten Island is a bit different. In that suburban borough, Matthew Emanuel and his wife, Maria Colonna Emanuel, found their dream home and a little something extra. The couple managed to find a home on Tot Hill in one of the island's nicer neighborhoods. Best of all, it came with a nice backyard, perfect for relaxing after a long day at work. Towards the back of the yard, however, the couple noticed one bizarre detail. Amidst the trees, there was an unusual and out-of-place piece of metal emerging from the ground. While Matthew and Maria weren't sure what the metal was, they came to accept it as part of their landscape. It was probably an old electrical or cable box anyway. However, they soon became aware that that was not the case at all. See, while Staten Island is technically part of New York City, it does hold on to some vestiges of suburban life. One of those, it seems, would cause the Colonna Emanuels to reconsider what was lurking in their backyard. In recent years, Staten Island has developed a bit of a deer problem. Some of the animals wandered into the couple's backyard and wreaked havoc among the plants, which brought attention back to the area. Matthew brought in a landscaper to fix up some trees, and the man, unsurprisingly, noticed the metal box in the brush. He was convinced, however, that it wasn't housing wires. In fact, he thought it was too banged up and rusted to hold much of anything. The best guess is that the metal was simply a piece of old scrap, so the men used some heavy machinery to unearth it. Once it was free, though, its true identity was plain as day. The piece of metal turned out to be the corner of a safe. Once everyone got over the surprise, their minds turned to the logical question: what valuables could be locked inside? The couple decided they had to learn what was inside the safe. There was no turning back now. They got some tools and, without too much effort, had cracked through the rusty metal shell. Once the dust had settled, Matthew reached down to open the safe. As daylight filled the interior, the Colonna Emanuels couldn't believe their eyes. It seemed like something out of their wildest dreams. As you'd expect, it was full of valuables. The couple pulled some bricks of cash, which unfortunately had been ruined by water. Some of the loot, however, was in better condition, and it was far more promising. Beyond the cash, the couple found a literal buried treasure. And there are all these bags with hundreds in jewelry, diamonds, engagement rings, dozens of rings, gold with jade. Matthew told CBS News. It was stunning. As stunning as the jewels were, they weren't alone in the safe. After removing all the valuables, though, the safe still wasn't completely empty. The couple noticed that at the bottom of the interior, there was a simple slip of paper with some faded writing on it. On the paper, the Colonna Emanuels found a familiar address. The home in question belonged to one of their neighbors. Matthew and Maria headed over and knocked on the door. They hoped that whoever appeared behind that door could help them solve this mystery. When Matthew asked the neighbors if their home had ever been robbed, they said they had. There was one catch, however. The burglary in question took place in 2011, several years earlier. In 2011, a man known as the Ninja Burglar went on a robbery spree across Staten Island. While he robbed hundreds of homes over 10 years, he apparently didn't make it far with this safe. Whether he decided it was too much trouble or planned to come back later, he left the safe in what became the Colonna Emanuels' backyard. Sat there for years until the couple finally cracked it open. The Colonna Emanuels returned the safe's contents to their neighbors. It wasn't ours, Maria told the New York Daily News. Today, a white elephant sits where the safe once did, reminding the couple of their literal buried treasure. Meanwhile, the jewels, engagement rings, and more went back to the neighbors, who were delighted to have their items returned. Of course, what would you do if you find something in your yard and its owners are long gone? Luke Irwin, a famed floor covering and rug designer, ran into that dilemma. He had no idea his Wiltshire, England home was hiding a critical historical artifact. There had been no evidence of anything ancient until workers were digging for electrical wiring on his property. Luke was sitting inside his home when he heard a worker shout, seemingly in shock, The rug designer ran outside to see what the commotion was about, only to be met with a worker holding a pickaxe in the air and looking curiously into a hole in the ground. In February 2015, while laying electricity cables so my children could play ping pong in an old barn, we struck a cold, hard surface, the designer explained. Thankfully, workers noticed the bright colors peeking out of the ground just before shattering whatever it was with a pickaxe. Upon further inspection, it was a tiled mosaic boasting bright blues, oranges, and creams. While everyone else scratched their heads, the strange find had Luke thinking of another oddity on his property. There was a bizarre trough located near his property's main house, which his contractor asked about. No one knew how long it had been there, so the designer didn't think much of it at first. But after finding the mosaic, this property was special. Experts looked at the mosaic, 18 inches underground, and concluded it was a Roman mosaic floor from approximately the 4th century, preserved for years by the chilly English countryside. As he learned more details, Luke became even more incredulous. The Roman mosaic was once a luxurious estate. The Deverell Villa, which existed from 175 to 220 AD. It really goes to show how all empires stand and fall, Luke said. The ancient site was far more advanced than experts expected. There was running water and heat in this villa, Luke explained to Architectural Digest. That hadn't existed in 16 years after that. With answers slowly trickling in, he visited the odd trough on his property. What was it? Luke had an archaeologist visit his property who confirmed that the trough was actually a Roman child's coffin. Clearly, Luke was unknowingly living on land rich in ancient history. He felt both foolish and invigorated. What this sort of thing throws out to you is a level of your own ignorance. I knew what this thing was, but I had no idea the date of it or the quality, Luke said. The more Luke learned about the mosaic's backstory, the more he wanted to honor it. After discovering the ancient beauty, it didn't leave Luke's mind. In fact, he thought about the mysterious mosaic floor for 6 weeks, trying to calculate how to use it as inspiration for his own floor designs. I designed floors for the 20th century, and here's a decorated floor from the 4th century. The conclusion I came to is that you cannot spit in the eyes of the gods when such a gift is given to you, Luke explained, excitement taking over him. With the tesserae, aka the tiny square tiles from the mosaic, as his muse, Luke set out to design a collection of rugs that both recognized the Roman floor's historic pattern and exuded 21st century tastes. What I wanted to do with all the rugs was to make things that people would look at and see the story of how they were made without being fussy or overdone, Luke said, and he had a plan to do that. He decided to separate the collection into 2 distinct categories, rhythm and flow. One is more geometric and one is more abstract, Luke explained of his creative designs. The geometrics are more synonymous with antique pavement. What you're trying to do is show that inspiration comes from all different places, he continued. He didn't simply want to make a pastiche of Roman mosaics. That would be cheap and unoriginal. However, the Deverell rug in his mosaic collection for ABC Home, which is made of silk, is close to an exact replica of the buried floor, as to allow the world to experience the beauty Luke was lucky enough to see in person. Aside from that one rug, the rest of the collection merely sees the Roman flooring as a creative starting point. We're not the British Museum shop. We don't want to replicate. We want to create something new, Luke explained. And the collection didn't stick to just one style. Luke's past collections have boasted elaborate, elegant designs fit for both striking country houses and mosques. But this collection aimed to speak to more modest floors. So what you're balancing are abstract designs and the geometrics, which go in contemporary spaces and work in more traditional environments, Luke detailed. And though the designs pay homage to ancient Roman mosaic tiling, the creation of the rugs relies on Indian weaving, with silk and wool blends and a tedious washing process, which all add to the rug's antique appearance. Luke calls his weaver's methods genius. Part of the adventure of this is that I figured out that the Romans actually made it to India, and there's a trade history between the Romans and the Indians, Luke disclosed. Today, the world continues to interact with Roman history in magnificent ways. Please share this story with your friends and family.